Hi, welcome to part 1 of this series on controversies in physics. How convinced are you about the physical theories you are taught in school? In these videos, we will be looking at just a few of the discoveries I've made. Chances are, they will shock you. Actually, some of you may even refuse to think about it because the alternative is just too disturbing. Generation after generation, beginning in high school, we are conditioned to learn the basic physical theories and their equations by rote. No questions asked. We are so indoctrinated by the establishment that we can't even fathom the idea of questioning the validity of any of our fundamental institutions, even when the obvious is right there in our face. These theories were instituted at a time when physicists of higher ranks were idolized, barely distinguishable from God, as Einstein still is today. But physics and logic should be inseparable. While other physicists are trying to surpass Einstein's boldness with ever-increasing off-the-wall propositions, I just couldn't wrap my head around the endless inconsistencies and contradictions that plague our modern physics. So, I went on my own crusade, digging up the origins of our ancestors' theories, looking to solve some of the discrepancies. Unexpectedly, one discovery led to another. I just couldn't let it go. It quickly turned into an obsession which lasted more than 16 years. I now have irrefutable proof that not just one, but many of our most time-honored foundations were misconceived. Some call my book the satanic versus of physics, because it upsets academic physicists nearly as much as Rushdie's book did for those who worship the Quran. Skeptical? Well, just stay with me until the end of this video, and then you can judge for yourself. My name is Benoit Launier, better known as the Black Sheep of Physics. So without further ado, let's start by looking at one of these theories. Welcome back. In this video, we will be looking at our classical foundation, which claims that, from at rest and from the same height, bodies of different masses are accelerated at the exact same rate under a common gravitational field, if considered in an absolute vacuum, that is. While Galileo had done the experiment physically, by dropping two cannonballs of different weights from the roof of the Tower of Pisa, Newton and Einstein, relying on Galileo's naked eye observations, tried to figure out the reason why the cannonballs were perceived to touch ground at the same time. Newton deduced that all bodies, no matter how small, have this intrinsic quality of attraction, and that the mutual attraction between an object and the Earth must be in direct proportion to the attracted object's mass. Einstein, on the other hand, perceived it quite differently. He considered Newton's gravity to be just an illusion. As a matter of fact, Einstein built his entire general theory of relativity based on the following premise, and I quote, "Bodies which are moving under the sole influence of a gravitational field receive an acceleration which does not in the least depend either on the material or on the physical state of the body. If now, as we find from experience, the acceleration is to be independent of the nature and the condition of the body and always the same for a given gravitational field, then the ratio of the gravitational to the inertial mass must likewise be the same for all bodies. By a suitable choice of units, we can thus make this ratio equal to unity. We then have the following law. The gravitational mass of a body is equal to its inertial mass. We shall show to what extent this is actually the case and how this question is connected with the general postulate of relativity." Unquote. This excerpt was extracted from the book Relativity, the Special and the General Theory, written by Albert Einstein. In order to clearly elucidate this phenomenon, we need to analyze it from the perspective of two celestial bodies having significant dissimilar masses, such as the Moon and the Earth, for example. Starting with the Moon, according to our classical theory, from at rest and from the same height, a 1 kilogram stone is said to be accelerated towards the Moon at the exact same rate as a 100 kilogram stone. But then, if the same 1 kilogram and 100 kilogram stones would be subjected to Earth's gravitational field instead, because of Earth's greater mass, from at rest and from the same height, the stones would be accelerated at a hastier rate towards the Earth than when they were accelerated towards the Moon. Actually, since the gravitational attraction of the Moon is claimed to be approximately 17% that of the Earth, the stones would be accelerated about 6 times more rapidly towards the Earth than when they were accelerated towards the Moon. According to our classical theory, if a body having a mass equal to that of the Moon would be subjected to Earth's gravitational field, from at rest and from the same height, it would be accelerated at the same rate as the 1 kilogram and 100 kilogram stones towards the Earth. In other words, it would be accelerated at a hastier rate, about 6 times hastier, towards the Earth than were the stones towards the Moon. Therefore, if we look at the Earth-Moon's mutual attraction from the Moon's perspective, from at rest and from the same height, a body that would have a mass equal to that of the Earth would indisputably be accelerated at a hastier rate towards the Moon, at least in the neighborhood of 6 times hastier, than were the 1 kilogram or 100 kilogram stones also towards the Moon. Because gravity depends on the mutual attraction between two bodies, this means that the acceleration which takes place one body towards the other depends on the masses of both bodies. In conclusion, as per the universal physics theory, it can now be stated and documented that under a common body of attraction, from at rest and from the same height, a body of greater mass is therefore accelerated at a hastier rate than a body of lesser mass, even if it were considered in an absolute vacuum. This also means that even if bodies of different masses were weighed at the exact same location, their mass-weight relationship would not be truly linear either. Because Einstein built his entire general theory of relativity based upon the mistaken presumption that all bodies accelerate at the exact same rate towards a common body of attraction, regardless of their physical states, thus regardless of their shape, size, material, and mass. This reveals that his gravitational warping of space and Lorentzian manifold ideas were no more than elaborate fabrications on his part. This goes to show that a seemingly trivial readjustment of one of our physical foundations can end up causing a radical shift in our comprehension of nature. This is just one example of the many incongruous theories I have investigated, corrected, and published in my book, The Universal Physics Theory, now in its 5th edition. Thank you for watching. I hope it was informative. And if you liked it, please share it with others.